Got Your Eers On is brought to you by Tactical Legion Knives. Live from the campus of Tom Radio, under the direction of Guido, Scoot, and Johnson, it's the pride of podcasting. It's Got Your Eers On.
All right, everybody, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Eers On. Guido here along with Scoot.
Oh, yeah.
And Johnson.
We're back for another week of potential transfer talk.
I don't want to talk about it. Can we talk about something else on the show this week?
I mean, I feel like we have to kind of talk about it because it actually amped up a bit this week, Guido.
It did amp up this week. So Deuce McBride, Miles McBride, has declared for the NBA draft. And what was kind of interesting about it, even though I think in statements since he posted his emotional, whatever,
yes,
you guys made fun of him last week, tweet post or Instagram post, he has said that he is considering returning to, or is going to go through the process to be evaluated by the NBA. But his was a little bit more like defined. That was not listed. He just said he's declaring for the NBA draft.
Yeah.
And then he had gone through the process with the NCAA.
Yeah. And we all agreed at the time, I think immediately, right, Scoot, that this one felt different. This one read different. Like when I read this one, nothing, and that's not a shot at Taz or Sean. Let's not get it twisted. But when theirs came out, it was more like, we're going to go through the process of evaluation and stuff. When I read Deuce's, it was more like peace.
Well, that's what I like. If you look at everybody that's come through our program, probably in the last, 5 to 10 years, that has declared themselves for the NBA draft. Almost all, I don't know that Devin Ebanks did. I feel like this is very similar to Devin Ebanks, where it was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to the draft. See ya when I see ya. Ciao. The other guys all throw in that, like even Sags, I think, threw in he's going to get, go through the evaluations and have
I think you're right. He even did that.
Yeah, he ultimately didn't come back.
But I think also, if we're being honest, as WVU fans, I feel like we read this one differently too, right, Guido? Because I feel like this one was the elephant in the room that we all were just like, that doesn't exist. There's no chance of that happening.
Last week I was totally like, if I don't say anything about
if we don't
it's
speak
not
it
going to
into
happen.
existence and we don't put him on the list of potentials, it won't happen. Let's just not talk about it. And then this came out and I feel like we all went, oh crap, that's the one I was worried about.
Do you feel
that's why
like
we were feeling like this.
He tried to sneak it by us? Like he thought, here, let the first wave of these guys announce stuff and then I'll just a week or two later, oh, by the way, I'm going to go as well. See ya.
Like when they're not looking.
And I guys, I gotta say, like from reading that and just my general feeling about it, he ain't coming back. Like he's going to the NBA draft. I mean, every mock draft has him late first round, early second round. I just don't see him coming back.
I think he can probably help his draft stock in whatever, combine type situations that he has, and when he goes to some of these visits, he'll probably help himself. I also think that if he doesn't get drafted, I could still see him going G League at this point and then trying to latch on or because I mean, if you look at it, most of these guys, unless you are maybe really the top 10 picks, and maybe not even that because Joe Alexander didn't last very long. But if you look at these guys, a lot of them bounce back and forth from the G League their first year. Javon did. We see Daxter Miles is back and forth in the G League. Tariq Phillip is back and forth in the G League. And I think to myself, if Daxter Miles and Tariq Phillip can be in the G League at some point, and possibly the NBA, so can Deuce. I mean, if you're asking me, I think Derek Culver's probably the more pro prospect, only in the sense that his rebounding is tremendous. His shooting is woeful farther than 5 feet away from the basket. But I don't know. I am concerned if Derek Culver is our only option coming back that we know of.
Well, it puts us back to 2 seasons ago, I feel. Or no, really pre-2 seasons ago. Help me hone that in, Scoot. I mean, we had a period there where it was just DC was our only option, it felt like, and he had to have a huge game or we weren't in it.
His freshman year, at the end of his freshman year, we had Jordan McCabe, who kind of stepped up and was scoring, which he didn't do his sophomore year or this past year. And we had Derek Culver, because that was the season that Issa Ahmad and Wesley Harris got dismissed from the team.
Yeah, right.
I don't
Right.
I don't feel as good about this as I did then.
Well, let me ask you, here's what I really wanted to ask you guys tonight, because one thing that's been on my mind is part of my fear of, like Guido said, like, that's not a thing. It doesn't exist. Let's not think about it or talk about it. It's kind of like when he brought up the other week when you weren't here about Hug's tenure. I was like, that's not a possible thing. We're not going to talk about that. The other thing that I've been worried about is, let's just play that forward then, and Deuce doesn't come back and he really pushes this forward. Then my other thought is, and maybe that's just me being cynical, but I feel like it then informs the decisions of other people like Derek Culver on the team. What do you think about that?
Well, I almost wonder how it affects the decisions of Sean McNeil and Taz Sherman, because now a guy like Sean McNeil, who wasn't really going to be a draft pick in the NBA, maybe would have gotten a G League contract, maybe would have gotten a European contract. Sean McNeil now comes back, and he's the star of this team, and he's scoring high 20s a game. He's getting the ball. He's not really sharing it with anybody, and I think it puts Taz in a very similar situation as well. And then now you go, I mean, honestly, Kedrian Johnson, it helps, and it helps McNeil and Sherman a little bit, I think. More McNeil than Sherman. And then I think it hurts guys like Isaiah Cottrell and, Bridges. Like, I think it hurts the younger guys. And the other thing that happened this week was Gabe Asaboyan said that he's coming back. He went on a rival podcast. John Flowers, thank you. No. Anyways, he went on Final Forecast and announced that he's returning back to WVU for
which
his
is awesome
extra senior year. I think that helps. That makes me less worried about the inside, less worried about defense and rebounding. But I mean, I think Deuce leaving helps a lot of people on the team. I just don't know if it helps the team as a whole, if that makes sense.
Well, Scoot, just really quick before you chime in, that's interesting, because that's actually not what I had on my mind. So Guido, actually, I'm proud of you, Guido. You spun that positively. Me being the negative Nancy over here, I was actually framing. I was afraid that meant they would say, "Oh, well, if Deuce isn't back, then I'm definitely moving on." That's where my mind was. I've been a little bit paranoid about that reaction. But I like the way you spun that, actually.
But see, I look at it, and Scoot, I don't know what your opinion is, but I look at it, a player's got to play. And if a player wants to play and build his, time and his showcase, a guy like Sean McNeil, Taz Sherman too, but a guy like Sean McNeil, who I think actually has some NBA potential. They like shooters like that in the NBA. Like, every team has like one of those guys that, is this 3-point, nail him guy. Like, he's going to get more eyes on him playing another year at West Virginia than he would if he plays in Europe somewhere.
I agree with that. I worry, though. So I've always been the glass half full guy of the three of you. I am the glass mostly empty, not even half empty right now. So let's say
on this, you're saying on this,
on this. So let's just play it out. All four guys are gone, right? McCabe, Matthews, Taz, McNeil. Actually, there's five. Deuce. That leaves us. Now, I get it. We're going to bring in some transfers. I understand that. But that leaves us with the only experienced guys with Coach Huggins and his staff that are capable of dribbling a basketball. That leaves us with Kedrian Johnson, who has yet to really show me that he is an offensive player. That leaves us with Taj Thweet, who has all of 4 minutes of playing time this season. And he, I guess, is like a 6'7" guard. I don't know that he's really a guard, but I would say a guard. Does this open the door for Spencer Mackey and Jay Moore? I mean, what are we going to, like, we don't have anybody with, I know I'm being facetious, but we don't have anybody with experience coming back that can handle the ball. Jalen Bridges is not a guard. There may be times this year, though, if we do have inexperience with the guard position, that he may have to be kind of pressed into duty. I could see it if Culver stays and Gabe is there. Is it possible that Gabe is a starter and Jalen goes to the 3? Maybe, I don't know. And then you're just looking to fill 2 spots.
Well, it leads me to believe that there's probably people out there beating the junior college bushes right now.
Oh,
to try to
man.
find the next,
Definitely.
the next help for this team is what I would assume.
I mean, that's what Huggins does, though. I mean, he's always loved that junior college.
yeah,
fall.
I totally agree.
Now, Chris Anderson of 247 Sports
Right.
put together an article that listed several potential targets for our staff of guys that are in the transfer portal. And there was one that came out that was pretty public in that Polycap from DePaul.
Yes.
Like, is this even a thing? Like, this can't be real,
DePaul's
right?
Paula Cap.
Like,
Come on, you want this guy to come. You
Like,
know you want that
I
name.
do.
You want to talk about that name all
like it's
season.
ridiculous.
I'm thinking Scoot thinks that's a gold mine just for the name
How is
alone.
it possible that I didn't know about this guy before this? Like, that's what I can't understand. Like, how does nobody know this guy has, like, his parents have had zero originality or creativity in their lives. They're like, Polycab, what goes well with I like the sound of it. Let's go with Polly. And then, hey, when you're done playing at Manhattan, why don't you go talk to DePaul? Because that's where he started out at Manhattan. Then he went to DePaul. Like, it was like a magnet. He's like magnetized toward the name Paul.
Yeah.
And to look at him, though, he looks like a mini Derek Culver. He's 6'7", built like a tank.
Right.
He's not going to be dribbling the ball, I don't think, anytime
So
soon.
let me ask you guys this. So now we're into this now. We've got Deuce. We got these 3 guys testing the NBA. We've got 2 guys in the transfer portal. Jordan McCabe picked a school, by the way. He's going to be a running Rebel. Is Tarkanian still coaching there? I
No.
don't think.
That's a negative.
no.
How cool would that be, though, if he was still there biting on towels? And...
Is Tarkanian still alive?
That's a no
I don't
as
think he's
well.
alive
That is a no.
That's the last time I remember UNLV being like somewhat relevant. Is whenever white chewing on white towel days in the 90s. But how do you guys feel now, a week later, about this transfer portal and what a mess it's become? I mean, we're seeing what's happening with Chris Beard leaving and going to Texas. Like, it's a train wreck. Syracuse lost their best player into the transfer portal. Like, it's a mess right now.
Yeah, and I don't know if I mentioned that to you guys, but even here, like, so I'm in, I'm here close to East Carolina, and just since the end of the season, they've had, I think, 6 players go into the transfer portal. So I don't know. I think the math liker in me says that all of these guys have to then end up somewhere. I mean, they end up at a destination school. So this has to not even out, but it has to come to some equilibrium, right? I think the problem, Guido, is that
What happens when you go in the transfer portal and nobody wants you?
well, there's that, and I talked about that on your off week, I think, because there is some level of risk for each of these guys. Now, most of the time,
But is there like, are you going into the transfer portal not knowing that
Right.
you've talked to another coach or
yes,
something?
surely you've got stuff lined up, right?
Jordan McCabe, the fact that he's already with somebody else makes you think, when did this conversation start?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly. But I think too, just to play that forward, though, I think it makes. I mean, and we said this last week, and I think, Guido, that's still my opinion. To answer your question, is if you're a school like. If you're a blue blood, if you're a UNC, a Duke, whatever, Kansas even, actually that makes me mad about Bill Self's new thing this week, but we'll talk
get
about
back to
that.
that. Yeah,
But schools like that, I'm sure they love this chaos in the transfer portal because they can just stick their arm in the portal and like pluck guys out. But if you're us, it makes me very, very nervous, Guido. I guess that's my answer, is because
but don't you feel like, I mean, maybe I'm looking at this wrong, but I feel like we're one of those guys, Johnson. Like, I feel like it's not like we're a mid-major.
No.
Like, we may not get, but we're gonna pluck. this guy leaves Syracuse. It's not like he's going to get to go to Duke. Like, we're still a good team, a good destination for, we've got a Hall of Fame coach. We're a good destination for a player.
Yeah,
so,
I don't disagree.
I guess I don't look at, like, I think this is like that martyrdom West Virginia thing that we all have, which is like, oh, we're all, everybody's always down on us and we have the worst luck in the world.
Well,
I mean,
that's probably part of me too. Yeah, that's probably part of me. I'm just worried that we're not going to see, like, it's not going to be equitable. Like the losses are going to outpace the gains that we see. I guess that's my fear. Maybe that's a better way to put it.
But I think and Scooty would say this too. Like, I think you're going to say, well, it's not equitable because you're going to get these three guys you don't know. And then a year and a half from now, when they're stars, when they're a Gabe Osaboyan, in his second year, you'll be like, oh, that's a great guy. I'm glad we picked him up in the transfer portal. I guess the difference is in football, you may have 10 guys go into the portal after a season, but you've got 70 guys that play on the team. It's just this year's weird with like 5 and 6 people going from a basketball team into this situation.
I'll say this. I think that to kind of piggyback off of Johnson's point, those blue blood teams, the Kentucky specifically I'm thinking of, North Carolina, Kansas, they're better equipped in the sense that they're used to having players for a year or two at max. So I think that they're going to be able to maybe get more out of those guys than a team like us that's not typically a one-and-done school, right? So not that Hugs can't get a lot out of a guy in a year, but we've seen that guys typically do better in their second year with Hugs than their first year. McNeil's a good example. Taz Sherman's a good example. Typically that second year they kind of blossom when they're new to a program. I guess that's the hope that Kedrian Johnson will figure some things out and he'll kind of take off next year. But when you're a Kentucky who's used to getting a guy for a year, they can squeeze out stuff out of guys quickly. Yeah. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I think they're much more used to that churn, I guess, is a good, and that's a good point.
And I think the difference is, guys, and I mean, can you remember, especially when Scooty and I entered the transfer portal, but can you remember back in like the 90s, though, and even the early 2000s when a kid wanted to leave a school and go to another school? It was a nightmare for them to transfer.
Yeah.
Like, it was like you had to get the athletic director to allow you, like you had to be released by your school in order to be able to transfer to another school. Like now it's the world's completely different. And I'm all about this, the ability to let these players choose where they want to be. But I thought Fran Fraschilla Johnson had an awesome tweet this week about it, because it's kind of like I like Fran. It was kind of like the old man tweet, because that's kind of how I felt about it when I read it. He said the transfer portal is open and student athletes are flooding through it. He says, yes, the freedom of movement, finding a better fit, yada, yada, yada. But some of it is just the pure inability to handle the slightest adversity that sports brings.
That's
that's
a fire tweet. That's like an old guy. But I respect Fran, and I read that and I thought, you know what? That I tend to agree with a good portion.
I agree
of
with
that,
him too. I think after this season, the NCAA has to find some balance in this. This has just gotten, you've gone from one extreme to the other. Like now you can leave, and I understand that this, the whole not having to sit out for a year is only for this, particular transfer portal session, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's nuts.
Well, and I think right now, this minute, like in the current moment of it, with this being kind of the first taste of it, I have to think that we'll see this. I feel like I keep using this term, but it'll find some kind of like equilibrium over time, because I have to think that if you want this to be improved, then the last thing you would do is ask the NCAA to try to manage it more, because I think they've shown that they don't do the best.
They're not great at that.
Would you say that Mark Emmert is killing it right now?
Right.
I would not say Mark Emmert's killing it. That's not a factual statement.
So I feel like players and programs and coaches, like it'll reach some, I don't know. They'll figure it out. I think right now it probably feels like a maelstrom, but I have to think.
Speaking of figuring it out, let's talk about Kansas and how they figured out how to avoid getting in trouble. And even if they do get in trouble, Bill Self has figured out how to remain employed.
This whole thing. So if you don't know, if you're listening to the show, you don't know that Bill Self signed a contract extension. It was an extension with Kansas to stay on as head coach. And Johnson, what was the wording in the contract?
Yeah, so I've got it in front of me. It says this is Matt Galloway at the Matt Galloway on Twitter. It says the parties agree that athletics will not terminate head coach for cause due to any current infractions matter that involves conduct that occurred on or prior to the date of full execution of this agreement. So essentially absolving him from, if they find anything, you know what? Sign this, get out of jail free card.
Let's let bygones be bygones.
Like this, and you're right, Scoot. Like this goes back to the fact that I mean, the NCAA is by far the worst run organization ever. And I don't think they're going to do anything anyways to Kansas because they, just like UNC, they can't figure it out. And just like they did when they let Oklahoma State play in the March Madness tournament, like they just don't, they're stupid. They don't know how to,
after Bill Self and all that information with Adidas came out, he had Snoop Dogg cussing and strippers on poles for their Midnight Madness.
Yes. Well, this actually, Scoot, if you need me to season it a little bit more, Guido, I don't know if you saw the follow-up tweet from Galloway, but he said it goes on to say, if Self is suspended by the NCAA and or the conference for any matter related to the current infractions case, he's agreed to forfeit 50% of his salary during that time.
That's nice.
Oh, that's kind of him. I mean, that's nice. Of him.
That's nice.
But he won't be fired. He'll just come back.
He'll come back.
But doesn't that, I mean, this is like the most Captain Obvious statement, but I'm going to say it anyway. Isn't that like, hey, no reason, but can we go ahead and write in all these specific things about if something happens, just no real reason, but just for the future,
Could a lawyer use that against him as almost an admission of guilt?
Well, that's what I mean. Like, doesn't it smack of,
it does.
Hey, there might be some coming down the pike here. Can we just write?
I feel like it does.
Like it's crazy to me. How is this a thing?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's
he's bulletproof.
It's almost like The Onion wrote this story about Bill Self's article.
I'm going to say this: is he a great coach or is he a great recruiter? Because there's a difference.
I think the latter. I think he's definitely a great recruiter. I don't know if he's a great coach. See, I feel like you have a guy like Bob Huggins. He's a great coach. You have a guy. I mean, I think there are a few guys that are great recruiters and great coaches. Coach K comes to mind, obviously. Roy Williams, Jim Boeheim, guys who have stayed a long time at a place. I think are great recruiters and great coaches. I think he's a great recruiter. I think he gives people,
That's the same thing. Like I would say Calipari, I mean, great recruiter, maybe not a great coach. And I think we saw that this year because he didn't have the right recruits.
Yeah.
No. Right? So he had an off recruiting year, obviously, and you didn't see him pull out wins that he would have pulled out with the talent in previous years.
But outside of the big names, outside of the the Krzyzewskis and all of that, like I mean, don't the great recruiters generally win out in the long run? Like, don't the great recruiters usually?
You don't have to do as much, right? Those because you're going to get guys that can cover your mistakes.
Yeah, I mean the talent's going to be there to kind of peanut butter over any ills that pop up. Yeah,
would that be a honey roasted peanut butter?
It would for me. Yes, it definitely would.
Speaking of Roy Williams, he has decided to retire from UNC, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Well, and this happened, Guido, on April Fool's Day. So when I originally saw this, I was like, oh, man, they're really messing with UNC fans. And then people were like, oh, no, actually, that's a thing. I think he had coached, it said 33 years.
The coaching carousel continues. We talked briefly about Chris Beard going to this weird, like Shaka leaves Texas. Chris Beard goes to Texas. His wife shows up the day they introduce him dressed as a referee, which I thought was very strange. I don't know if you saw that. They did this whole big video about him showing up to campus, and he and his wife come walking together, and she's dressed like a referee.
She had a black and white striped shirt.
Yeah, I was waiting for him to lay down on the ground and start doing the whole timeout thing, like
charge or something.
Charge,
I think that to me, if you're paying attention at all to Texas Tech Twitter, man, that's ugly right now. That's an ugly situation, and I don't blame them. I mean, a guy takes you to the Final Four. You've probably given him whatever he wanted as the head coach. He's built a culture there, and now he's going to go down the road to Austin to one of your to me, that would feel like Hugs leaving to go coach a couple seasons at Pitt or something. That's not even a good compare. But someone that you've really, or Beeline maybe would be better. Going to like a rival. But I think to me that's huge. Porter Moser heading to Oklahoma. I don't like Scoot because I like it when we talk about these teams like Iowa State that hire a guy we've never heard of and we laugh it off and go, okay, well, we'll continue to beat those guys.
Oh, like Holzelberger or whatever that guy's name is?
Yeah. But when I see someone hire
a successful guy, right? Yeah. You don't want to see him hire somebody successful.
It's like, oh, I don't like that. He feels really competent.
Scoot, my question for you on that, are you worried that he's going to bring Sister Jean along with him?
Listen, Jean better keep her rear end in Chicago.
What if Sister Jean entered the transfer portal, Scoot?
Yeah, what if she transferred and, left Loyola Chicago and came to Oklahoma?
I feel like would she have to go to like TCU because it's a religious school?
Oh, maybe.
They'd probably expect that would be the landing spot.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that Oklahoma has the religious ties that a TCU would have.
Yeah, so that's it. I agree with you, though. That's one of those hires, Johnson, that I'm like, man, that's a great hire for Oklahoma. That's not.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
All we can hope for is the rough, like, first 2 years where he's trying to get his recruits and his system in there so we can just maybe pound on them for a little while. I don't know that will happen because I don't really know a lot about this guy, but sometimes you see that, too, though, when you've got a guy that's come from a mid-major type school to a big school, like Neil Brown, like
or like Shaka Smart. I mean,
right?
Yeah,
there was Shaka Smart going to Texas, or even
the one thing Porter Moser said. By the way, Scoot, just to keep you informed, Porter Moser said his first phone call after taking the job at Oklahoma was to Sister Jean, by the way.
I'm going to struggle with this guy because he's got two last names.
Porter Moser?
Porter Moser sounds like two last names to me.
Yeah, the coaching carousel just continues to go crazy in the NCAA and will continue here over the next few weeks. Guys, other things we should talk about, WVU-related stuff. So Deuce isn't coming back. We're depressed. One thing about basketball to keep in mind, you guys were talking about Derek Culver. NCAA players, so the transfer portal stays open for another month, so that's still out there, and you have that you can declare for the NBA up until the first week of May. So there's still a chance that there will be more names out there.
Great,
trickling in.
No, I can't wait.
Sorry,
thank
Johnson.
you for reminding me,
guys. Other breaking news out of WVU happening tonight, just as we're doing the show, popped up on Twitter as we're here talking. Tyke Smith lands in a new home, and Johnson, I think you called it last week.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of the easy speculation, right? We kind of thought that about Drashawn Miller, but we now see that Tyke has landed with Georgia, and that was the easy speculation. That's where we thought he might end up. That's what we thought the easy choice would be, and obviously that's where it came to fruition. So obviously leaning on that Jamil Adai connection, it looks like.
Not surprised, Scooty?
No, not surprised at all. If anything, I'm surprised that we haven't seen more guys other than Tyke go that direction. It doesn't have to be a starter, but you would think that there's got to be a couple other guys probably in that secondary room that would be interested in joining Jamal if they have a close relationship. A lot of times, your coach can be almost like an uncle or a father figure, and when that guy leaves, he might be the only reason why some of those guys actually are at the school in the first place. So it's not surprising, and there may be other names that end up going that direction at some point. Maybe not this year, but maybe next year. We'll just have to see how it plays out.
Well, we'll talk more football next week too, because we'll work our way into the spring game and a lot of stuff starting to happen with that team. Let's talk a little bit about WVU baseball. Randy Mazey returned back to the team this weekend as they faced Oklahoma State. Is that correct? Yeah, Oklahoma State.
Yes.
And it was good to see him back. A really nice tweet came out about being back with the team after taking a couple weeks off and dealing with the issues with his son Weston. So good. The Mountaineers took the first game in the series, but they fall in the finale, giving up a powerful grand slam. But Oklahoma State, 11th ranked team in the nation. So
it looked more like a football score in that finale. I think we gave up a 10-run third inning or something like that kind of doomed that game. But otherwise, I mean, I feel like that's one of those games you just have to like shake it off, Guido. Like they're a great team. Like you're going to run into this in this conference. So, I mean,
yeah, that final score of that third game was, what was it, 21-11?
I think 21-11, 22-11, something like that.
But overall, WVU, baseball still playing well. They're 11-11, 500 ball right now. Their next game is against Pitt this week. So, we always like when we play Pitt, a little backyard brawl action.
Boo hiss.
For everybody in West Virginia, most West Virginians in professional football world are Steelers fans, Johnson.
Yes.
Good news for them. A West Virginia guy might be coming to play with the Steelers, allegedly.
Yeah, and personally, don't get mad at me, but I'm not much on the Steelers, but Carl Joseph is quite possibly my favorite Mountaineer ever, and so it was said that he was meeting with the Steelers this week. Now, I was a little bit surprised, Guido, because I think he's only, finishing his first year, right? Or was that his second? That was his first season in Cleveland, I thought. I don't know, but he had a really great season. I think he was in every game, or like 14 or 15 games with the Browns. Of course, they had a really successful year. But yeah, I guess there's maybe some depth issues. I read the article really quickly earlier this week, and Steelers fans that are listening to the show probably already know this, but I think they've got some depth issues, and so they're talking to Carl Joseph. So pretty cool.
And then a final thing before we take a break and come back to do Bluff the Fluffs. Former WVU running back Sean Alston, which was what, 2010, 11, 12, somewhere in there, right?
Yes, right. I think Sean was pre-Big 12. So yeah, it would have been
he might have been.
Like
he might have
9,
been. It was
10.
right around that time.
Yeah.
So he is involved with this antitrust lawsuit against the NCAA for, athletes not getting paid and the NCAA making billions off of it, which is going this week in front of the Supreme Court.
I was going to say he's the reason why we don't have NCAA 2K for football.
Well, I think there's more.
I don't think it's his fault.
Yeah, I don't think it's
particularly.
his fault.
I don't know if I'd go right after him, but
But
yes.
I think the Supreme Court pretty much spent, from what I was able to pay attention over the week, they essentially spent all week just dunking on the NCAA. So it was a very bad look for the NCAA. I think they're in a precarious position right now for how, not that they weren't already, but I think now that they've pushed it to this level and the Supreme Court has pretty much spent the whole week asking them why things are kind of screwy. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes, Guido. I have a feeling that whatever already exists for like name and likeness is going to get ramped up. If you think transfer portal and name and likeness and everything, we may be just seeing step one of this stuff.
Yeah, I agree with you, Johnson. I think that this is what we are dealing with now with the name and likeness stuff and the ability for student athletes to go wherever they want to go, whenever they want to go, is just the tip of the iceberg of what's coming.
And I'm not saying any of that's a bad thing. I'm just saying,
no, I'm not either.
Hold on, get, seatbelt in, because I think a lot of change is, possible up around the bend.
It's Pandora's box, man. It could be a bad deal. Well, listen, let's take a break. We'll have that more to talk about in the next coming weeks, months, and probably years. Let's take a break and come back and do a little bit of Bluff the Fluffs. We've been on a Bluff the Fluff break for the past couple of weeks, so let's come back and do a little Bluff the Fluffs. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Ears On. Vortec Knives is a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in high quality steel, fast opening, everyday carrying knives. If you go to vortechknives.com today and use the code GYEO, you get a 25% discount on your entire order. That's Vortech, VORTEK knives.com, a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in fast opening, high quality, everyday carry knives. Vortec Knives. All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Ears On, Guido, along with Scoot and Johnson. Don't forget, you can find us on the social medias. Look for us online, on Instagram, on Twitter, at Got Your Ears, or you can find us on Facebook. Just search Got Your Ears On. Guys, it's been a few weeks. I felt like it was time to bring back Bluff the Fluff.
Yes, let's do it. We've had a kind of a BTF drought, I feel like.
Yes. There's been a BTF drought. Scoot was missing a week. There's been a lot of basketball and other things to talk about. So I thought we'd bring it back. Last we left it, Johnson came back and tied it all up. We're tied at 5 games apiece, Scooty.
I'm not worried.
It's
Not
a
worried,
new,
not
it's a
scared.
new season, Scoot.
That's right.
All right. Well, guys, this week, we record this on Sunday nights, as most of you know. Big game tomorrow night, Monday night, when this show gets released, happening. The national championship game in basketball. Don't know if you know this, but it's Gonzaga versus Baylor. So,
I did know that.
And can I just be the old guy to complain, Guido, that we're now having the time-honored tradition of a very important championship game on a Monday night at 9:00?
Oh, yeah, totally. It's
When
ridiculous.
will we change that?
No, we won't, because of West Coast.
We'll get to watch a lot of those commercials with Jim Nantz saying that the Masters is a tradition unlike any other.
Yes,
Unlike any
We'll
other,
be treated
yes.
to that.
I mean, I like the Masters.
Yeah.
commercials.
No, I
like
do
those
too.
commercials,
I-
Scotty. I like Jim Nantz.
But don't you feel like
Jim
this
Nantz
is a
makes me feel-
game that should be enjoyed on a Saturday? You know what I mean? Like where everyone
Right?
can just freely watch it
Right.
without.
What would you do if
It's
if
this-
they played it at like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday?
No, not that. But I mean,
Watch
a
it.
day when I
Like-
don't have to worry about getting up for work the next day or anything.
That's what I'm
you
saying.
know?
Like, wouldn't it be amazing if they played it like 2:00 in the afternoon on a Saturday, where you
Right.
could kind of center your
Yeah.
party around the
Right,
game?
yes.
You're done at a reasonable hour.
No, even if they did it at 9:00 on a Saturday night, I would be okay with 9:00 Saturday night.
Yeah, I think I would too. I'm okay with that, but I don't have anything to do the next day. But
It's the same problem I've had with years with the
It's-
Super Bowl.
yes.
Like, just move it to Saturday night.
I'm getting
You're
us
not-
off
it's not
on
like
a
you're
tangent.
competing
But
against
yes, that's a
anything else.
perfect equation because I mean it's the same thing for the Super Bowl. You're going to have the biggest party of the year. And
You
then-
guys sound like a couple of guys that bring pickles to or onions to McDonald's.
We bring our own onions to make. Anyway, if you don't know, guys, this whole time for the past 5 weeks, these players have all been in Indianapolis, Indiana. So these guys have been trapped in Indiana for a month while they've been playing March Madness.
It's very flat.
That was yeah. I mean, so my question is, what have they had to eat for the last month?
Ooh.
Like, so today on Bluff the Fluffs, we're gonna do Indiana foods, famous foods from
Oh, I'm
Indiana.
on it.
Wow, that's a
I'm
curve.
on
You
it.
just
So
threw. I was
You
prepping
said
myself.
you were thinking this was going to be a bad Bluff the Fluffs. This is a great Bluff the
I was
Fluffs.
prepping myself for like past championship history stuff like that.
I feel like I know all kinds of Indiana
I
foods.
feel like, you've got, Suggs, these guys, they've all been in Indianapolis for the last month, and I want to know what they've been eating. So did a little bit of research here and tried to figure out, see what you guys know about the famous foods of
All
Indiana.
right.
Oh, I'm in. I'm ready.
Wow. All right.
As you know, a correct answer is worth 5 points. A steal is worth 10 points, and final bluff is worth 25 points. Before we start, we have a complete and total random flip of the coin, and Johnson, you get to go first this
All right.
week.
Sweet.
All right, so here we go. Question 1. What is the name of the famous steakhouse in Indianapolis that is known for its shrimp cocktail? Is it Mitch and Morty's, St. Elmo's, Grill 23, or the Aquarium Lounge?
My gut reaction to this list was, did you say Mick and Morty's? Mitch and Morty's.
I'm sorry, that's incorrect. It is not Mitch and Morty's. Scooty, is it St. Elmo's, Grill 23, or the Aquarium Lounge?
Oddly enough, and maybe I shouldn't tell you this, but before quarantine hit and before the pandemic, I had spent a weekend in Indianapolis at a volleyball tournament.
Of course you
I
did.
believe the correct answer is St. Elmo's.
That is correct. St. Elmo's.
Boom, boom,
They got-
boom.
Great steaks and a little bit of shrimp cocktail. I've eaten there. It's great. It's awesome.
I'm
You should
immediately
go if you're-
angry.
All right. So
Because Scoot now has done reconnaissance on this location that I was not aware of.
Scoot now takes the lead with that steal, 10-0. And Scooty, this next question is back to you. Every year, there is a special pudding that is made and a festival that is celebrated in Mitchell, Indiana for this berry-like fruit. Is it the tamarillo, the loquat, the persimmon, or the jackfruit?
I think when we're talking about a berry-like fruit, I've got two options in mind. I am going to go with the jackfruit.
I'm sorry, that is incorrect, Scooty. It's not the jackfruit. Johnson, is it the tamarillo, the loquat, or the persimmon?
I just want to say loquat.
I'm sorry,
a
it's
persimmon?
not the loquat. It's a persimmon, yes.
That was my other option.
Yeah, persimmon is the...
Scoot, you went with the fruit that was nominated in its senior class as likeliest to never be considered a fruit.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with a tasty jackfruit pudding.
I am not. Never had one.
Well, then you're missing it.
All right, so no points given there. Scoot, you still have the lead 10-0. Third question, Johnson, over here to you. This famous food was started in Indiana. Was it the Pop-Tart, Orville Redenbacher's popcorn, Monster energy drinks, or Quest bars?
This is wow. This is tough. Again, I've already proven my gut feel was wrong on the first question, but my gut's telling me to go with Orville Redenbacher, Guido.
That's correct. Orville Redenbacher from the state of Indiana, a person who liked making popcorn.
Scoot, I was afraid that was just advertising, and he wasn't really
No,
from
it's
there.
true. It's true. I knew that. I was going to go with that. I was hoping you were going to get it wrong.
You were hoping he was going to go with Quest bars.
Yes.
That's what you were thinking he was going to go with. No. All right. 5 points for Johnson there. Scoot, you still have the lead 10-5, but this next question is back to you. In Evansville, Indiana.
Birthplace of Don Mattingly.
Okay, thank you. The Hilltop Inn is famous for making this fried sandwich out of a usually discarded part of the pig.
Ooh.
Is it the testicle sandwich, the kneecap sandwich, the brain sandwich, or the snout sandwich?
I've had everything on a pig. From the rooter to the tutor. I am going to say it is the brain sandwich.
That's correct.
Thank God you
That's
got
correct.
that right, because I didn't want to have to choose if I wanted to say testicles or not.
That is correct. It is the brain sandwich. It started actually, they used to do it with a calf's brain, but then mad cow happened and they got a little scared. So now they make brain sandwiches out of pig.
well,
brain.
I don't like
obviously.
that you know detail about this. Like, that's a strange, odd thing that you would know, like, the backstory to the brain sandwich.
I can't wait till Scooty has to go to Evansville, Indiana for some volleyball tournament and we make him go to the Hilltop
Yes.
Inn and get a brain
To
sandwich.
I
verify
wonder if
this.
Don Mattingly's had that sandwich.
I bet he has.
I bet you Don Mattingly has had that sandwich. I'm sure he has. We should ask him next time he's on the show. So, all right, Scoot, correct answer there. 5 points. You now have the lead 15-5. And Johnson, this next question is back to you. In a 2020 poll, what was named the most popular fast food restaurant in Indiana? Was it Sonic, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A, or Taco Bell?
Ooh. Indiana. I feel like they'd be Dave Thomas fans. I'm going to go Wendy's.
I'm sorry, that is not correct. Scooty, Sonic, Chick-fil-A, or Taco Bell?
I've got to believe that this question was asked to you because of your number one love. And I'm not talking about your wife. I'm talking about Chick-fil-A.
This
That's a correct answer, Chick-fil-A.
this one hurts. This one's painful. Oh, man.
Number one fast food in Indiana. Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
man.
It
It
was
felt
even a
too
softball
obvious,
and you
Scoot.
missed
It felt too obvious. I couldn't go with it.
Scooty gets 10 points and takes the commanding lead now,
Oh, man. Who
25
knew?
to
Et
5.
tu, Brute? I feel like I just got a knife in the back there
Duped. Yeah.
from Fila on a
All right.
Sunday, no less. Scoot.
This next question is back to Scoot. Final question before final bluff. And it's a breakfast question,
Oh,
Scooty.
good. I like
So-
breakfast.
All right, here we go. This breakfast food gained its popularity in the city of Indianapolis. Is it chicken breakfast sandwich, square donuts, corn scrambled eggs?
Say that first option again. Chicken breakfast sandwich. What the heck is a chicken breakfast sandwich?
The best is on my sheet that I have it. I have it typed sandwich instead of sandwich.
It sounded like you were a part chicken when you said it. Chicken breakfast sandwich. It was like a buck in the middle of it.
Oh.
And I couldn't hear anything you said after that. Like once you balked like a chicken, I was out. I was like,
Like a ball.
chicken breakfast sandwich. I was like, what the hell is that?
All right, here we go. This breakfast food gained its popularity in the city of Indianapolis, Scoot. Was it the chicken breakfast sandwich, square donuts, corn scrambled eggs, or cottage cheese and applesauce?
Ooh, that's interesting. I'm gonna say square donuts.
That is correct.
I never
Square
even heard
donuts
of
are
a square donut.
very popular in Indianapolis. So there we go. All right, Scoot, another 5 points gets you a 30-5 lead. And Johnson, a correct answer in Final Bluff will only allow you to have a draw this week and tie it up.
Okay.
So,
Pressure's on.
as always, Final Bluff is worth 25 points, and we ask you guys every week to give us buzzers. Scooty, what is your buzzer this week? All right. And Johnson, your
He
buzzer?
actually just took the buzzer I was thinking of. if we're being honest. Portal.
Portal. All right. Johnson is Portal. Here we go. The Indiana State Fair is known for this tasty treat. Is it fried butter, boiled popcorn, sauerkraut balls, soy kebabs?
Portal.
Cool. None of them are good. What the-
I heard Johnson. None of it sounds tasty to you, Scooty. Is that what you're saying?
No.
All right. Well, I heard Johnson buzz in first for 25 points in the tie, Johnson.
I'm gonna go fried butter.
Sorry, that's
Let me
incorrect.
ask you a
That does-
question. When you fry butter, what happens to it?
I don't know, but I didn't really hear anything.
melts.
Wouldn't it evaporate? Like, doesn't it
melts.
evaporate when you
just
fry
melts.
I didn't hear anything after
When it just
sauerkraut
melts.
balls.
I love me that deep fried butter. Do you put it on a stick?
I'm assuming.
You just pull out the stick after it's been in the fryer.
Because it's just
All right, Scoot. You win. Congratulations, Scoot. Do you want to hear your guess though? What is
okay.
your
So
guess?
give me the last three options. I know there's sauerkraut balls, which sound horrific.
Boiled popcorn, sauerkraut balls, and soy kebabs.
I'm gonna go with boiled popcorn.
Sorry, that's incorrect as well. The correct answer is sauerkraut
Oh,
balls.
jeez.
Are a popular, tasty treat at the Indiana State
It's
Fair.
first of all, two things. It is not popular nor tasty.
Yeah.
You wouldn't try a sauerkraut ball?
No, not a.
Like a meatball, but like put it on your spaghetti? All right, well, congratulations, Scoot. I know you won't eat sauerkraut balls, but you will take the lead again in Bluff the Fluffs, 6-5 over Johnson.
Well, it was hard earned. I think my recon trip to Indianapolis has paid off. Not only did I see good volleyball, but I also saw some good food. I did not see any sauerkraut balls, nor did I see fried butter. But
Right.
I knew they do a lot of stuff with popcorn there. So Indianapolis, I imagine Jalen Suggs and the fellas have maybe gone to or had takeout. Probably didn't go, but they probably had takeout from St. Elmo's.
Yeah, probably. I would imagine they definitely did. So Johnson, unfortunately for you, it's a loss. You're behind. You're a game down.
Yeah, it feels bad. We're a game back now, but we'll regroup.
All right, here we go. Let's take a break, guys. We'll come back and do a little bit of Can't Believe My Ears, wrap up the show, all of that kind of stuff. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Ears On.
Tactical Legion Knives, a West Virginia owned and operated company that specializes in heavy-duty tactical knives and gear for the professional warrior, the weekend warrior, and the outdoor warrior. Our products are built tough. For who? For warriors. Hey Mountaineer fans, make sure you go on Amazon and search Tactical Legion Knives, and when you do, make sure you put in the promo code 25TOBRADIO for Tob Radio. You'll get 25% off on Tactical Legion Knives.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Ears On. Guido here along with Scoot and Johnson. And don't forget, we've got an awesome website. You can check it out, and it's got merch. So check out our website, gotyourearson.com, right,
Yeah,
Johnson?
so links to the merch store are right there in the sidebar, as well as the latest blog post for all the stuff we talked about on this week's show. You can click on there and see the links for all the show notes of stuff we talked about. And then if you'd like to, you can listen to the show right there from the website in the sidebar. The link to the latest show will be sitting right there, so check it out.
Yeah, definitely. Check it out, gotyourearson.com. Well, prior to March Madness, we used to allow Scooty, a few hours a day out on the internet to find things to talk about on the show. Then we shut off his internet for a month, and we've let him back on it. And every week, he brings us a little segment we like to call, I Can't Believe My Ears. What do you got for us this week, Scooty?
Well, fellas, as the weather is getting warmer, this story kind of stuck out to me. You guys are swimmers, capable swimmers, would you say?
Capable
yeah,
of swimming,
swim.
yes.
Okay. Do you like to swim?
I don't know if I'd say I like it. It's, it's okay.
Yeah, I do.
It's not,
Are you comfortable swimming in places you're unfamiliar with?
No. So I don't like swimming I like pools.
Okay,
pools,
you don't like a lake.
Maybe
You're
an
not a
occasional
lake swimmer.
I can maybe do a lake. It's got to be a nice, clean
Yeah,
lake,
that's an interesting
though.
question, Scoot. I mean, I like the ocean. I'm not a big, let's go swim in the river, or like Guido saying the lake. I'm probably not hot about that, but I'll,
See, I'm not an ocean guy either. I don't
I'm
like
fine
the
with
ocean.
the ocean,
but I like pools. Pools are nice.
Well, a Florida woman was found naked in a storm drain after being considered missing for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I actually heard this story that she had gone missing, and they found her in a storm drain.
She had gotten lost in a tunnel during a swim.
Really? I hadn't heard that. Where was she swimming? It's like, hey, let's go down and swim in the sewer?
So here's, let's see. She was, I guess, going to go swimming. She left March 3rd. They don't know how long she spent in the sewer. She was exploring a tunnel she found while swimming in a canal near her boyfriend's home. After several turns in the tunnel system, she told police that she became lost. And then ended up in a sewer.
Oh my God. Okay, Guido, first of all, this is terrifying. I mean,
Right.
as two people that just said they don't like swimming in just not even remotely weird places, if I found myself, I mean, I suspect we're going to get to decision making issues here in a second, but just beside the fact, if I found myself then lost in this kind of labyrinth and I had gotten turned around, that feels terrifying.
Now, Scooty, you've been to Florida. I've been to Florida quite a few times.
Yes.
We have family down in there. And the canals that they are talking about, Johnson, it's not like a canal that your boat's on that leads to, the ocean or anything. They have these canals in Florida that are kind of like gullies, to use a West Virginia term, to allow stormwater to flow away. And they kind of look like little rivers,
Ditches,
if you will.
Really.
Ditches.
Yeah.
That's exactly what they are. They're ditches. They're these giant ditches. And at no point in my travels to Florida would I have ever looked at one of those and gone, I might want to go swimming in there.
Secondly, so at some point she probably came across a gigantic tube of some sort.
Yeah, right.
So
Yeah, right.
Like, I mean, she's not Richard Kimball and it's not The Fugitive. Do you go into that on your own willingly and say, you know what? Let's see where this tube goes.
I wonder where
It's
this
dark
goes.
inside. Like, no, never. Never would I ever
Yeah,
go
this
into a
seems-
tube of some kind.
This is like running away from an axe murderer in a horror movie level bad decision making is what this feels like for this
I guess she
person.
had to contend with snakes and rats and, your general raw sewage.
Wow.
Oh my gosh! But no,
Yeah,
no
this is-
alligators. Like it is Florida. Like
Well, they didn't say alligators, but I'm sure there've got to be alligator concerns, right?
I mean,
For 3 weeks.
Ugh.
We're not talking about like, she's been gone for a couple hours. 3 weeks. What is she eating? What is she drinking? You have to be eating and drinking something, right?
Yeah, this now
Like
raises
this-
more
yeah, this
questions
is-
for me than answers.
Like, that's amazing that she's alive.
How did they even locate her?
They heard the 43-year-old Lindsay Kennedy calling for help from within an 8-foot pit at about 9 a.m. in Delray Beach. The firefighters removed the cap, lowered a ladder and harness, and pulled her to safety.
can we also talk about? She's 43.
Yeah.
Like when you reach, we're 43 too. Like we're in our early. I've had a lot of life experience, and I'm like
You're too old for this.
I think you're exactly like if they said she was like 17,
Right.
21,
Maybe.
I mean 25 even, I would have been like,
Right.
okay, dumb, no life experience.
I tend to agree, yes.
Or if they'd said, hey, she's 80, and I would have been like, oh, it's an old lady in Florida.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, yes. Other end of the spectrum, yes.
80? What is an 80-year-old doing swimming
I don't know,
in a
but
canal?
I mean, at least it would make a little more sense to me. Confused.
Yes.
She thought it was the English Channel and she was
Maybe.
trying to swim across. And
I
set a
get,
record.
yeah.
43?
Maybe.
Like, Scoot, at our age, Scoot, are you making that decision? Are you swimming in that
Well, I'm
canal?
going to tell you right now. First things first. Any kind of water where I'm unsure of, I'm putting water shoes on. I know it sounds crazy and looks kind of dorky, but I'm wearing water shoes because I don't want my feet to touch anything. Now,
Or at least a wetsuit, maybe?
listen, I don't like strange lakes because of the squishy feel under my feet, let alone swimming in a poop canal while exploring. Like, I'm not doing that. So I would never do that. I don't know what makes her think that was a wise decision. Like, I guess maybe I've seen enough in my life that I don't need to explore.
Well, and what else is going on here, Scoot, that someone's not like in those, like, so they're in those canals or they're in those ditches like you're talking about, and they're not putting two and two. Like, so this person has never stepped back and went, where does all that go when I flush the toilet? Like, they've never thought this through. And
this
then, like,
smells horrible. Let's keep swimming. Like, come on. You don't think let's turn back around and get out of here?
I have a lot of questions here.
I think I can sum all your answers up in one statement from the news article that investigators reported that Kennedy's mother said that her daughter has a history of illegal drug addiction and had drug problems.
Why did I not think of this?
That makes sense.
I guess when you're in your 40s, drugs can help you lead to bad decision making. Don't do drugs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, I'm with you, Scoot. I'm not swimming in a canal in Florida, though.
God,
I've
no.
seen 'em.
Like,
They're
I
disgusting.
don't even like going in a pool that's not caged in Florida because of the mosquitoes. Like,
Right.
I'm not getting in some sort of like foreign waters.
Scooty doesn't even think his own pool's clean enough.
And that's 100% right. I'm not swimming naked either.
All right. Well, thanks, Scoot, for finding out something about Florida. I always appreciate the Florida ones. All right. Well, listen, we should wrap it up this week, guys. It's been another interesting week in the world of WVU athletics. I know it feels like off season, but there's a lot happening for off season. We'll be back next week. We'll talk more about whatever happens in the transfer portal. It's going to be a few weeks before we hear anything about these NBA guys, I think, and whatever else happens. But we will have some build up, and we'll talk a little bit next week about what's happening with spring football practice and the spring football game coming up on April 24th. So definitely tune in. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, follow, all of those things. You can find us online on our social media accounts, Instagram and Twitter, Got Your Eers On. And you can also search for us on Facebook. Just look up Got Your Eers. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll be back next week with another show. You've been listening to Got Your Eers On.